In this video, we will be talking about using the Pythagorean Theorem, which many of you may have seen before. Before we talk about what it actually is, we're going to talk about what it's useful for. It can only be used for right triangles, and it's a tool to find the third side of a triangle if you know the other two sides. So for our triangle here, we have a right angle, therefore it's a right triangle. And if we knew A and B, we could find side C using this Pythagorean theorem. For this theorem to work, it is best to label the sides of the triangle A, B, and C with the longest side labeled C. The longest side has a fancy name. It's the hypotenuse, and it's the side that's across from the right angle. It's important that this side is labeled C for this theorem to work. A and B, it doesn't matter which ones you put there, as long as C is the longest side. The theorem goes like this: a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We can use this theorem for all right triangles, like I said, to find the third side if you know two of the sides. So for this triangle, let's say that the hypotenuse is 75 meters or something like that, and side A is 60. The question is, what is B equal to? So we can substitute these numbers into our theorem right here. If A equals 60, we can put 60 here, 60 squared, plus, now we don't know what B is yet, so we leave it as B squared equals our hypotenuse, 75 squared. Now you just have to do a little bit of math. 60 squared is 3,600, and 75 squared is 5,625. Now we need to subtract 3,600 from both sides, and we end up with B squared equals 2,025. Something we might not have talked about yet is, what do you do if you have b squared and you just want regular old b? Well, the opposite of it is you take the square root. To get rid of a squared, you can take the square root. So the square root of b squared is regular b, and the square root of 2,025 is 45. So there, we use the Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. B equals 45. A question you might get on one of these problems is, what is the perimeter? So obviously if the question is asking for perimeter, you need to add up the three sides. So you would do 75 plus 60 plus 45 equals 180, which is the perimeter. And some of these problems can be story problems. This person was sitting on a bus, and the other person was sitting behind them on the bus, and somebody is sitting across from them. What is the diagonal? Just read the problem really carefully, and the best advice I have for you is to always draw a picture. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to have a triangle and point out which one is the hypotenuse. That's the one that's across from the right angle. And you're ready to start using the Pythagorean theorem to solve for a side of a triangle.